Let's be honest about this. For real, it's really crazy. I went into the city of Colchester because I live in Colchester, and when I went there, I parked up and started to walk down. And as you walk into the city centre, it opens up. Everyone is around and shopping and doing their business, and they're going about their daily chores. There's one thing that stood out for me was there was a huge bunch of what I could only say immigrants that were walking down the street. And there were young guys, probably about 20 to 30 years old. Weren't causing any trouble, but they were black or kind of Ethiopian looking, or the lighter skinned ones with the thin noses. And for a split second, it just hit me, and I thought, hold on a minute, these guys look like me. And I was like, how do these people go about in their lives? And obviously, we don't want to paint everyone with a broad brush. But for a split second, I thought, oh my God, these guys could be me, or I could be them. And it came to, a point where I started to think, oh, okay, well, of course, this is on the very sensitive issue, really, of those three beautiful girls that were murdered and stabbed. And, the tempers are raging high, and of course we've seen the ethnicity of the person, regardless of him or his parents rather being of immigrant status. It's irregardless of anything. But what I saw was these guys walking that looked just like me. And then it just dawns on you that other people could be looking and putting us all in the same category, of course. And I say that because I've had an experience in Germany where I was doing the show Starlight Express, and I walked in to a shop. It was in Dortmund, I remember, and I had like raggedy clothes on, like designer clothes, but raggedy. And this lady, immediately I walked in, and I could sense that she was following me, like around the shop. And you test these things, and you kind of go into one aisle and see if the person's there, or go to another aisle. And eventually she came up to me and said, yes, can I help you? And it was the approach. And I'm a kind of person who really thinks laterally, and so of course I don't want to label any person in any way. And her demeanor as she approached me was like, you're not meant to be here. Excuse me. And I was like, as soon as I started speaking English, I goes, yeah, I'm just looking for the trousers. Her demeanor changed immediately. It just blew my mind. It was like, God, it's like, we as black people used to have a status, like a pretty cool status. That's vastly diminishing. We used to have a certain kind of reputation. Okay, yeah, we were bad boys, but now it seems to me that we are vastly becoming the usual suspects, the most disliked, the most untrusted people on the planet, and not seen in any way to be attractive or wanting to bring up children and family with. That's what I'm getting, and I see it on the media, and I see it on the everyday life, daily life, and so walking in there, and I just looked and I thought, my God, I could easily be a fresh immigrant, and so it's something that it should be food for thought to people of my persuasion. That it came to me that us as black guys, we really have to set an example, like an example that really sets a high standard, a high tone, and we really owe it within ourselves to put in check the young guys as well, like parents who have children and the children are out. And we need to, I totally believe that they need to go back to God. They need to go back 100%, because in this country and in the States, I think we're the only nation that has prevented or pushed back on Christian faith in schools and stuff like of that nature. It seems to me that we as a nation have completely dissolved the Christian doctrine and the teachings in school, which for me really is a standard of morality to a certain degree. Respect your mother and father, thou shalt love thy neighbor, thou shalt not kill, steal, just the basic respects, not going in depth of the Christian religion and the Christian faith. And so I find it very interesting that in the UK, it's completely, literally dissolved. Even Catholic churches and Christian churches are so stained and tainted, and that it has no effect on the children, And so in the UK, we now have the young generation who are just walking around absolutely without morals, with very little consciousness, with a complete, this kind of a mindset that is just not thinking of others and the welfare of other people. And it's a shame, whereas we have now the ever-growing other religions. I wouldn't want to be too explicit I'd like to evade any confrontation, but if you see, we have other buildings being built, and a lot of people who go to those buildings are building communities, building families, building, a whole teamwork of joint people who believe in the same thing, have the same agenda. And I just think that we as Christians and we as people in the church are just left absolutely discombobulated and confused, like a ship without a destination. And so our parents of the children nowadays are not even telling the children, how to behave morally, how to conduct yourselves, even the parents. And this is so disastrous. I'm seeing into the future that those children will have children and they will never have anything to do with any kind of moral compass, and it will be a disaster for the people in the UK, particularly the Caucasians in the UK. And it's quite alarming to me that this is the case and this is how it will be. Well, why is that? Now, I think maybe the government has a lot to play in that, because obviously, church and state, if the government would allow these churches and this doctrine to prevail in society, then certainly we would have, you know, a lot more stable young kids who go to church, you know, not for the religious reasons, but just for structure, and you know, as opposed to being purged with influences from, you know, mentally ill individuals who everyone has a right to open a channel. I'm not disputing that, but people can share some very dangerous topic and have some real strange the thoughts and beliefs which your children are listening to when you're at home or on your iPhone, or you're, you know, preoccupied at work or with work, or, you know, whatever or you're at the pub, and your kids are being influenced by crazy people. So I think it's time to be aware of what is going on in our society and the future.